welcome to the Dude 2 podcast where we talk about essentially anything with a circuit board, a set of wheels, and much, much more. Um, we have been offline for quite some time, 7 months, I want to say, at least, just due to life grabbing us by the balls and just swinging us around. But instead of having Jackson on a Discord call this time, he's actually in person here with me, face to face. Just wanted to get that out of the way for everybody. Today we have a couple of things, three things, plus one that is not on my list. Starting off here strong with Netflix. We all hate them, we all love them. It doesn't really matter. Um, but Netflix just took a massive hit to their subscriber count in both the United States and Canada. It's been going on over 3 months. They've lost over 1.3 million subscribers to their service due to them wanting to implement advertisements at a subscription tier. Um, they don't have a whole lot of information about this other than what we have in front of us. Canada dropped 600,000. United States dropped pretty close to that. Basically, their way of thinking is that they'll do a lower ad supported tier and then they will do a higher ad free tier. So I'm assuming it's going to be like your Discovery Plus, where you pay either $6 a month and you have ads, or you pay $10 and you have no ads.
Yeah,
It just depends on what you want to do.
I don't think this is gonna save Netflix. I think Netflix is too far on the downward spiral in my mind. They've kind of just sat pretty and taken all that money and kind of haven't innovated enough. You have Hulu and Disney Plus and all these other streaming companies, and they have done a crap load of innovating. And I think they're really giving Netflix a run for their money, and I really think they're eating their slice of the pie right now. Because I don't know about you, Harrison, but I have nothing basically on Netflix. I say basically, I got one thing on Netflix that I would actually watch right now. All the good stuff has been taken off of Netflix and gone to other platforms like Hulu.
Yeah, and some people like that, some people hate that, but I know when I first started on Netflix when I was younger, everything you wanted to watch was on there. Futurama was on there, Knight Rider was on there, different random TV series were on there. iCarly was on there. That got taken off just recently. They had the Fred movies on there. I don't know if you remember those. The I Am Fred.
No,
And yeah.
I don't know that one, but my biggest one for Netflix was Futurama, and it's one of those things I've watched every single episode, and so I might consider putting it on if I'm doing stuff running around the house, just because I enjoy it, and I'm trying to learn every single word of every single episode, so to speak. But I really think they're hemorrhaging so many people, and they're just so behind the game that they're not going to catch up. I think they're gonna. I realize Netflix is a huge company, but so is Kmart. And look what happened with Kmart. I realize they're nothing alike, but what I'm getting at is Kmart was such a huge company, and it took, I don't know, 10, 15 years for it to finally crash and burn and die. And the reason why it took so long was because they had so much. The company was so big. So I think that's what's going on.
And to add on to Netflix's supposed ad-free and ad-supported tier that they have, there was another thing that we read on not too long ago. It was actually yesterday. We had a scratched episode. It was poor audio and just didn't sound good at all. Essentially, in the Central America region, Netflix had implemented or was going to implement this system where they were requesting you to share your, or basically you'd have to buy a home if you were going to be streaming outside of your primary residence for more than 2 weeks. And the way that this would work is they would recognize, okay, well, this person's account is logged in on a TV 20 miles away where they're not typically at. And they would give you the option, or they would basically force you to purchase that home or that device to watch your Netflix account on, which is stupid because how are they? I mean, Netflix doesn't track your address. So how is that going to work if you move or if you go somewhere else or
Right.
whatever? If you move apartments, how specific is their system going to be?
I'm sure that they have something for people that move. They can literally just, if they've noticed that, your permanent address on Netflix has changed from one place to another, I'm sure they can do that. But the fact of the matter, granted, it's still not even a lot of money. It's literally like $2 or $3 US to purchase another home, is what they called it, I think, to purchase another home so you could stream outside of your original home. And they were literally saying, okay, you got to pay us $2 or $3 just so you can watch Netflix at a different place. And I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's not something that happens immediately, but if Netflix keeps seeing you do these things, they're gonna say, "Hey, you need to give us $2 or $3 extra to be able to stream outside of your thing," which I think is really dumb with a paid subscription, regardless, because of the fact that you paid it. As long as you're not like defaulting on their payment, and it's not like you owe them money. I think it's stupid personally, but that's just me. And there's a lot of places going to subscriptions that are garbage, BMW included, with their heated seats that cost like $18 a month. Granted, that was on the episode yesterday that we scrapped, but yeah, that just still boggles my mind.
Well, you also have to remember as well that BMW also has a subscription for their automatic high beams, as well as their free heated front seats and their driver assistance, and every kind of maintenance that goes into a BMW. I don't know what there is. I don't have a BMW, and I will never own a BMW. But paying
Smart
$18,
man.
paying $18 on top of the already 80 grand that you've
Eighty,
dropped on
$100,000 that some of these
that
cars cost.
that
I
you
think it's trivial, and I think it's a cash grab, and I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I think they should just think to themselves, the average person doesn't keep a BMW longer than 1 or 2 years, anyways. So honestly, if it's $500 to buy the option, and you rent it for $15 or $18, it's actually cheaper for you to rent it at that point if you only keep it 1 or 2 years instead of paying $500 for that. But regardless, I still think it's stupid.
Yeah, and I mean, so many people are going to a subscription-based system that they're doing it for the monthly revenue compared to a one-time fee where eventually your customer base is going to slow down and you're not going to have as many as you want, or people are going to leave, and without that recurring transaction, it's going to be money coming out of your pocket. But kind of moving on from that one,
I want to add one last thing before you do that.
okay.
Toyota actually had some uh people were angry because Toyota wanted to say, if you want remote start on your car, you got to pay us a certain amount per month on the car that you already own. And I still think that's stupid.
Keep in
And
mind the vehicle already has the equipment installed
but
from factory,
you
but you
gotta
have to
pay
pay.
18 bucks or whatever the hell it is just to use it. I think that's ridiculous. But
Yeah,
moving on to your topic, Harrison.
yeah, so our next one here, I'm sure many of y'all are quite aware of the whole EV trend. I know Jackson's very much into it. He'll be getting into that later, actually. We have one. It's called the 2022 Lucid Air Grand Touring Performance. Uh, it's an electric car, but it's an electric car that makes a 1,050 horsepower, which I think and it's a sedan. It's like a Toyota Camry. Well, it's 1,050 horsepower in a sedan.
Yeah.
That's that. I don't know. I mean, running around town, it's making 900 something horsepower, which is more than anything else at your.
I've actually done some research on this car actually, and normally you drive it in chill mode is what they call it, which is only like 2 or 300 horsepower, and basically that keeps you from sneezing and go flying into down the road with 1,000 horsepower. The Polestar that I rented was 450. So if you want to turn around and double that, I think you need to make sure you keep that from not being 1,000 horsepower when you don't want it to.
Yeah, and it's um reading here, it says driving. He drove two of them, um, the Dream Edition P and the Grand Touring. Um, the Dream Edition P made more than 300 additional horsepower than the Grand Touring, and preferred how the latter felt. I'm assuming that the Grand Touring is going to be more of a luxury vehicle. The Dream Edition is going to be your sporty, let's go have a track weekend and go from that. And from here, what it says with 21-inch wheels and, yada, yada, yada. At 80%, 87% charge, he was receiving a range of 388 miles.
That's huge. That's really huge. And on the regular GT, um, you can get 469 miles on 21-inch wheels, which are giant wheels. And then if you wanted to opt for the 19-inch wheels, which is probably what I would do because I don't like huge rims on everyday cars. And plus the ride's too dang hard with those types of wheels on them. You would get 516 miles of worth of range out of the 19 inchers, which is huge. I mean, that's people were talking about how I won't buy electric cars until, they get to be the same range as my gasoline car. Well, I mean, that's quite a range from an electric car. That's huge. I can't even stress how big of a deal that is.
But my thing is also this is a sedan. So you got to think this is just your average family car. Um, this is just your average family car that's just has an electric motor in it. Um, and I like it. It looks cool. I don't know what the pricing of these are. Frankly, I'm kind of clueless as to what we're talking and when we talk numbers.
I
Yep,
think we're
I just found
talking.
that it's $180,500 for the Grand Touring base price, and that's a
Yeah,
front and rear motor, all-wheel drive, 5-passenger, four-door sedan. So that is
they're not cheap.
921 pound-feet of torque.
That's a lot of torque, man.
921 pound-feet of torque out of a
That'll
car.
give anything a run for its money on the drag strip or at the red light. And I don't know if you know this, Harrison, but Lucid is a startup that is, I believe their cars are built out of Nevada, if I'm not mistaken, but the actual startup is in California, unlike a lot of cars that are electric, Tesla included. But, it's a fully American made and American built car, which is great, we need more EVs that are from America.
For sure. And I I mean it's cool that, everybody's switching to electric and the infrastructure is changing. But while we're on the topic, if you want to go ahead and talk about the other one that you yourself actually had the luxury of driving for a week and let us know how you like that,
Yeah,
what you thought of it, what it was.
well, I want to say about a month ago now, I flew down into Orlando I was on vacation at the time. It was for a week, and I was able to rent myself a Polestar 2. And for everyone that doesn't know, Polestar is a subsidiary brand of Volvo, and they're basically meant to be an EV electric vehicle manufacturer that basically takes a lot of the design cues from Volvo, which a couple of years back was bought by a Chinese company called Geely, and this company Geely wanted all of Volvo's engineering basically and how they did things, and they bought them and they said, you know, you can continue to build cars and stuff, but we just want your engineering and we want you to continue to do what you do. And Volvo said, cool. So Geely builds electric cars in China, and they have taken a lot from Volvo. And so all of the electric vehicle powertrain and everything was used from Geely to build the Polestar 2, which is a four-door sedan, and I believe we have 420 horse. No, I can't remember. It's either 400 or 500 foot-pounds of torque. It's a serious car. If you haven't driven an EV, that was actually my first EV that I've ever driven, and it was eye-opening for me. I mean, it had 240 miles worth of range. It looked the part. It definitely was silent, just like everyone says they are, and it was stupid fast. And Harrison actually went for a ride with me one time when I picked him up in it. And why don't you tell me about that one, Harrison?
Yeah, so basically we went to Checkers. I'll call you out on it. We went to Checkers. I met him there. We had some food. Got in the car and sitting there in the front seat, with phone in my hand, just scrolling through, just didn't think anything of it, like, woohoo, it's a car, it's silent, whoop-de-doo. Nothing, nothing super fancy about it. We get out on the highway, and then, hold my phone like a normal person. As soon as we get on the highway, next thing I know, I'm reading it like I'm 85 and I'm blind. It was not the easiest thing. And then letting off the gas, the regen braking system kicked in, and then next thing I know, I started reading my phone like I was farsighted. I didn't like exactly how much force the regen braking had. It seemed like it was a lot of like the engine brake was just significant, which I think that if somebody wasn't paying attention, that could potentially be a safety thing. But overall, I'm not gonna get into the nitty gritty of what I really thought about it, but it was a cool car, cool experience. My dad loved it as well. He took it out for a whip, and I thought we were all gonna die because there's 5 of us in this car. Was it 5 or 6?
It was 5. I think it was stacked. It was 3 in the back and 2 in the front.
Yeah, there was 5 people in it, and it still got up and went like no tomorrow.
And I think it had 30% battery on it too at the time, which is kind of nuts that it can perform that well with that low of state of charge in it. And I'm kind of surprised your dad doesn't have one sitting in the driveway, to be honest with you.
Well, I think he needs his truck for doing truck stuff, but
Well, I mean, it's a toy.
He could afford it as a toy, but I just don't think he wants it as a toy. But that's just my opinion. I don't know exactly what he's thinking, but he fell in love with it as soon as he got out on the road with it. And keep in mind, we still got up and went like that, and the roads were wet. There was quite a significant amount of moisture on the roads, and it still just gripped. And I think the weight had a big part to do with that. For sure,
it's not a light car. It's actually a very heavy car. And another thing that I didn't mention is they offer this car in front wheel drive also, and it's a whole different car front wheel drive. It's pretty lame as far as pickup wise. I think it's 0 to 60 and front wheel drive is like 7 seconds. It's nothing super groundbreaking. The all-wheel drive performance edition, which was what I got, that was something else. We're talking about flirting with BMWs between stoplights, and people roll down their window. What the hell is that? It's a Polestar. A Pol what? A Polestar. I say but not really. I didn't say that to him. But anyways, and people just don't realize it. That it doesn't look. It blends in with traffic so easily. It doesn't seem like you don't have one roll past you and you think to yourself, "Oh, that's a Polestar." No, you think that's a Volvo. It looks like a Volvo in almost every single way, but It's a pretty slick car. I think the starting price on the 2023 Polestar 2 is $49,800, basically 50 G's. And I think they are giving a $7,500 tax credit still because they haven't produced 200,000 units yet in the United States and sold them yet. So if you still want an awesome car, and the build quality on this car was great. I mean, I literally closed the door. It sounds like a bank vault. I mean, it's great. I mean, Tesla leaves a lot to be desired with their build quality. I've heard from everybody, and this car was built solid, no panel gaps, and it pretty much had everything figured out. To be honest with you, and I'm really excited for the future. The Polestar 3 is going to be coming out. I don't know when the actual release date on that is. Harrison has seen that. It's a SUV. It's like a how Harrison? How would you call it? Because it's like a
So the way when I looked at the picture on it, it looked almost like it had the new Toyota Tundra front end. It had a Chevy Blazer body, like roof line, door lines, body lines looked like a Blazer for sure. And then the back end, I can't remember what I described the back end to look like. That's the thing. It was a Tundra front end, Blazer midline, and then it was a
it kind of had like a hatch looking back end on it.
no, but it looked like like a certain model, and I can't remember
I
what
can't
it
remember
is.
what you said it looked like the other day.
Nah.
Regardless, it's still slick looking. And if you guys should look at it, it's the Polestar 3. Just look it up. Like I said, as of this filming, it has not been released yet, and I don't know when the ETA on that is. But I'm excited for the future of Polestar and that whole brand in general. It's definitely slept on. So, anyways, moving on to the next topic.
So our third one here, yet another vehicle. The whole Polestar thing wasn't planned, but since I figured we're already on the topic of electric vehicles, we might as well just cover that too. This one's called the 2023 Porsche 911 Sport Classic. It's a hit for Porsche collectors. I don't know what makes it a collector, but supposedly it's a second model from Porsche's Heritage Design series. Which, if you're not aware, that series pays homage to the classic 911s of the late 60s, early 70s. Most people say it's most notably paying homage to the 73 Carrera 27 RS. It's only got 1,250 units worldwide, and I'm gonna just say it now. I know that price is not, that sticker is gonna be big.
Yeah, I agree. It says here that the people that love the Porsches can spot the differences immediately with a double bubble roof, a ducktail spoiler, center lock wheels measuring 20 inches up front and 21 out back, and a gumball on the doors for a favorite racing number. Most unique, though, are the quarter panels. They're flared like those of the 911 Turbo, but like the car's intake openings, air now flows into an opening ahead of the spoiler. Porsche modified prototype turbo tooling to make the unique panels, but that's still a lot of money and effort for a limited run car. Honestly, it looks pretty slick. It really does. And I really like the number on the side. I think that's about as racy as it gets. I think it's a beautiful car. I like the center lock wheels on it. What do you think about that, Harrison?
So let me take a look here. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. It's definitely a different design, especially if they're gonna try to play homage to the older ones. Um, in terms of powertrain, it's running a 3.7 twin turbo, detuned by 29 horsepower. So it can play nice with the Carrera 7-speed manual, which is surprising because I don't know why they'd have to detune it for it to match the Carrera 7-speed manual when that's one of the strongest transmissions Porsche's got. It can handle the most power.
I'm kind of surprised that it's still a manual transmission Porsche. I know Porsche has kind of really done a lot of automatics now. I don't know if it's the people don't want to drive a manual car, and so they've gone to, you know, designing a lot of the Porsches with flappy paddle gearboxes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot of it's floppy paddle. But in terms of powertrain, we're talking 3.7 twin turbo, like I said, 543 horsepower, 442 pound-feet of torque, which is not bad considering the fact that Porsches are usually always really light. And they consider this power package to be homage to the 930 911 Turbo, which is exclusively a manual and rear-wheel drive. So I'm assuming this car is not one of their typical all-wheel drive options, which is kind of surprising given the fact that the Turbo is a suicide machine. It just, with that much power and only the back wheels pushing it, it was bad. Porsche claims a 0 to 60 time of 3.9, clutches light, 7-speed stick, which I don't know. Yeah, they say that the shift points are pretty well spread out. You can really anywhere between 2,500 and 7K on the tack.
So
You'll be fine to really just throw it in whatever gear you really want.
right. Well, I actually just looked this up, what this puppy cost, and it says the price is still hush hush, but it's an easy 6 figures, is what they're saying. Considering that the 2010 edition is only available on the secondhand market for upwards, hold your breath, Harrison, $400,000. And keep in mind that car is about to be 13 years old at the end of this year. And this is a brand new car. Honestly, I wouldn't even be amazed if we were talking $600,000 to $800,000 for, if I wasn't looking hard enough. It looks like a regular Porsche to me, but I'm not a Porsche guy, so, but I'm sure they think that's pretty cool.
And I mean, if you look at the pictures of it, I don't. I'm not super big on Porsches. I mean, they're nice looking. Don't get me wrong. They're pretty. They're very very pretty cars. The one thing I do notice right off the bat is I can notice the homage to the older Porsches, especially the Carreras and the 911s, especially the 930 Turbo, in the way that the front headlights have more of an upward, flatter, more vertical slope than they do typically. Most of the newer Porsches, the headlight design is more inlaid into the wheel well. They don't have such a predominant sticking up feature. Um, and the double bubble roof, I can see that too. It's more of they call it a teardrop roof. The way that they're designed, with them being high up at top and slim in the back, they're supposed to be the aerodynamics of an airplane wing. I don't know too much about that. In terms of the bubblegum numbering on the side, I mean, it's cool. It kind of reminds me of um,
The Gumball Rally.
no, it reminds me of what was that stupid VW
You're
bug's
talking about
name?
Herbie.
Yeah,
Herbie.
that's what that reminds me of.
As I was looking through a little bit more of internet while you were talking here, the 23 911 Sport Classic is going for, and it's already been sold out. It looks like the price in the UK, including VAT, which is, I think, is like their motor tax and everything for like everything getting it on the road, is 209,540,000 British pounds. So I don't know what that is in American dollars, but I know it's considerably more than that.
So I'll look up. What did you say the amount was again?
It's basically 210,000 British pounds.
210,000. Let me look this up here real quick. Pounds to dollars. That's going to put us at $252,000.
A quarter of $1 million is what we're talking
I did
about.
find the price for the 911 Sport Classic. It's not as expensive. It's the most expensive of the 911s. If you know anything about 911s, they go from anywhere between 80,000 to 180,000. You got the $100,000 delta there. This one's 273,750.
Jesus
Making it the
Christ.
most expensive, which it is very, very expensive. But if you, like I said, there's only 1,200 of them, 1,250. So if you want one,
You're gonna pony up the cash, because if you don't, someone else will.
Someone's gonna pay it.
Someone's gonna pay. You're totally right. It's a good looking car though. I'm really glad that Porsche's doing limited edition stuff.
Now, in terms of Porsche reliability, we still get the same dual overhead cam, 24 valve flat six. So we're not talking V engines. We're not
It's
talking.
not a bad powertrain for such a light car.
Yeah,
And if I'm not mistaken, isn't that turbocharged?
yes, it's a 3.7 twin turbo.
I bet that thing screams. I've never
So
been in one, but
I'm gonna just out of the curiosity of my heart here. Um, the average Porsche 911 weighs 31 to 3,700 pounds, which is considerably light considering the size of the vehicle. The fact that you actually get cup holders and a radio and air conditioning and leather seats and all that in them, it's amazing that they fit so much into such a light package. And then they, to top it off, they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna slap a regular 3 liter in there, turbo it, and call it a day." So, congrats to you, Porsche. I'm not paying the $275,000, $274,000. I'll buy myself a house before I pay for that.
right, that's a cheap. That's not even a cheap house here in Florida. That's a decent house.
Yeah, 275,000. That's typically like your average 3.2, 16 to 1,800 square foot. Or you can have something on 4 wheels and 2 doors. You pick your poison on that one.
Yeah, I guess I don't have enough taste or class to drive something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's got gold lettering. It says Sport 911 Sport Classic on the back.
The gold lettering looks
the
really different. That's what
the
stands out to me.
wing, the wing design, that whole tail design is pretty apparent that it's definitely shaped towards the older ones. That's just how those old ones were. They had just that solid wing. There was nothing underneath them,
Yeah.
and they were just built cars. They were good cars, good to drive, and I mean,
maintaining them yourself though.
yeah, I wouldn't daily one, but it's to each their own. Really, is all I have
Definitely.
to say.
I definitely agree. Well, what do we got next?
Do you have anything?
I don't think I do. I don't think I do. I was literally thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm trying to think of what's next in our topic list. I mean, I think that's pretty much everything, isn't it?
I believe it is. So I know
Okay.
it's gonna be a shorter one, 32 minutes just,
Well,
but which isn't bad considering the fact that it is 10 o'clock at night and we decided to do this for the moment real late in the evening.
definitely.
Anything you want to say before we cut this one out?
No, I think we're set. I mean, I think we're doing a lot of what people, at least I would want. I mean, I think me and Harrison are being very critical of the topics that we pick because we don't want to do too many electric vehicles, and we don't want to, like for instance, we wanted to. He had mentioned a topic earlier about noise suppression that NVIDIA was talking about doing that they did for the IQ software, and I thought to myself, do you really want to do that? So we decided not to do some of these things. But
I mean, some things that we could do if we really wanted to. We could, really stick our toes in the water of, you know, all the medical technology and stuff like that. But I mean, what are we going to be directing our audience towards? People with PhDs in neuroscience.
this is true. But anybody that really listens to these podcasts, I don't even know if anyone even listens to these damn things. But hey, if you do listen to them, drop us a line on YouTube or wherever that this is put out if you can, and give us a comment on what you want to what kind of stuff do you want to hear. We can cover everything from dirt bikes to cars to computers to anything. We're pretty rich with topics, and I think we're pretty fortunate with that.
Yeah, and the only thing you really won't see unless it's, something that we have to cover is politics.
I will not cover politics. You'll be talking on your own dang podcast for that one. I will cover crypto though, because there's a lot going on in that. Maybe we can save that for the next one.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
definitely. But I think that's going to wrap us up for today. As long as Harrison doesn't have anything else to say, I think we are done for the day, and we appreciate everyone who listens. And you guys have a great rest of your day.